what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. It is Tuesday. Yesterday I was wearing a green flannel. Today I'm wearing a red flannel. We were working on getting caught up on all the parts that I bought, talking about the plan. Yesterday, after I finished filming, after I finished filming the video that you guys are watching today on Tuesday, I went ahead and ran all the wires through the firewall. So we're gonna pick up where we left off yesterday, getting started running the wires through the firewall. And then after I get caught up, you guys caught up from yesterday's work, we're gonna join back up today where I've, well, you're just gonna have to see what we're gonna be doing. So here's what happened last night, and I'll catch you guys back here in a little bit. All right, so my plan is I'm gonna get this mounted and I'm gonna get that at least ran through the firewall. Those two things get done while the dash is still out. So we'll get the wiring harness split with that. You could see the little grommet right there. We'll get that where it's supposed to go. I'm gonna have to drill the hole for that and get the pedal in there. And then once we get those two things in, we'll get the fuse box mounted underneath the dash, and then we'll be able to start kind of like routing wires to where they're supposed to go. Okay, so this is where this is gonna sit. I'm gonna dot the firewall right there, right behind where the cable's gonna come through. That's how I'll know where to drill. And then the spring on the throttle body is what's gonna hold the pedal up towards where it's supposed to be. Bingo. This is like the very definition of pushing a rope. Ow. That was kind of tedious. It'll work. Oh my god! Oh, we could probably come like out that and do the turn inside here. That'll probably look cleaner if I routed it that way. I think I'm gonna do that and come out the bottom right there. Okay, and then we'll just put a grommet on this so it doesn't rub through. Okay, the next thing is we're gonna figure out what the diameter of this is, because we're gonna have to drill a new hole in the firewall. What it's gonna do is come out. There's a small grommet right there. It's gonna come out right there in that location. That way I can go out into the fender through that small hole. And that's where I'm gonna mount boost control stuff and also the line lock. So the higher, like you can see right here, it's gonna come out of that firewall. This little section is gonna go underneath the fender, the inner fender portion, and then this is gonna go up towards the engine bay. Broke my bit too. Okay, so now the plan is we're gonna draw a pilot hole first, and I know what you're thinking is, you should have did that the first time. Well, we can't all be as smart as you, so. Dear God. I kind of wish I had earplugs right now. This is loud. that's in there. This is going to stay up here. The fuse box is going to be up there in the corner. Now the rest, this all is fuel. This is for the 3 fuel pumps and the level sender. And then there's the trans harness and the speed sensor, and also the ECU grounds are right there. So all this stuff is going back to the trunk, so I have to feed it underneath the carpet all the way down the side and out back that direction. This is going to be bank 2 injector and spark plug, injector, spark plug, injector, spark plug. This is going to be TPS, throttle position sensor. That's for the alternator. This is oil pressure transducer. Then there's also this one right here is a fuel pressure sensor. This is a wideband. And we go over here to this side. And we have, this is gonna be, all of these ones right here jumbled up together are all gonna be the back of the head. This is a wideband. This is gonna be crank, cylinder head temperature sensor, intake air temp sensor, starter. This is the starter resistor. I think that's the resistor is what that is. I'm not totally certain what the 1-wire connector on the back of the heads are, but that's what that one is. Then the rest of this bank, and then this is going to be the factory tie-in. I'm not entirely sure what this is yet. And then these also, all of these need to be spliced in to the factory harness. But that's this side up here. And the rest of it is got to get ran all the way to the back. But here's where we are now. Where I want to go and put the dash in. But we have all these holes that I have to patch up. There's not going to be anything there. And the last thing that I want is right space so that my firewall has fire holes. So I have to do that. There's nothing really else that I could do aside from clean the car out, which is even less fun than filling up these holes. So we're gonna fill these holes up. This is the very first time I get to use a 5.5 inch or 5.5 millimeter socket. I've never used my 5.5 before. It's just always sat right here and never been used. And just like that, it's over. It's gonna go back in the drawer and not get used again for another 5 years. Lee, that was probably not the right way to do that. Would you just take a listen to this? Sounds like a spaceship. Ford was kind enough to leave us a nice little template. Here's our hole. We're gonna make a piece that's just big enough to cover this hole. All right, so we've got this side and this side patched up. Put some seam sealer on it to help keep the fumes out. Seam sealer on that one to help keep the fumes out. This one already had a gasket on it, so no seam sealer needed over here. I just used some rivets on the corners for this guy. I had some metal rivets, or some rather, of course they're metal rivets, but I had to rip some extra rivets around. I could probably get the dash, the skeleton for the dash, and put that in. Alrighty, so now you're caught up. We have got, like I said, this is where we left off. Wiring harnesses, everything is kind of ran through the firewall. I cleaned out the car. So I've cleaned out back here. This is all cleaned out. I cleaned out the floor down here, sort of. Now, what the plan is now, going forward, is I'm going to figure out where that fuse box that's just sitting right there, where that's going to go. So what I need to do is find a spot where I'm going to be able to reach it. We're going to get that mounted somewhere up there on the front firewall, or in the driver's side kickboard, we'll get it mounted in a permanent location. So I'm going to figure out where it fits best, and then I'm going to take this dash out, get it mounted, and then I'm going to look at where I'm going to mount the Spark Pro, which you can see that colorful like 18 wire connector right there, the white one. That's the Spark Pro, and I'm gonna have to figure out where I'm gonna mount that. That's kind of like less difficult because it's got, you know, pretty thin flexible wire, and it's a small connector, and the box is pretty small, or relatively small. So mount the fuse box, sort of figure out where we're doing the Spark Pro, and then we're gonna work on getting the rest of these wires ran to the back of the car. All right, I figured you guys didn't want to watch me take this out, put this back in, take this out, put this back in over and over and over again while I figured everything out. But the fuse box is routed over to there. The power post is right there. I think the next thing I got to do is run power from over there to the existing power point that's over here on this side. It's only about 6 feet. 4 gauge should be fine. So let's do some soldering. This is just how I like to solder when I'm doing these big. What happened to my ring terminal? So I like to get set up here where I drill a little tiny hole right here in the top. Well, it's not so tiny, but good enough to where I can see when you put this on here, you can see the top of the copper fibers for the cable are right there at the top. That way we can fill in solder from the very top of this and fill in the entire head of this ring terminal will be full of solder all the way down to the shielding. And then when I'm done, I'll just kind of like, almost as if I was filling a hole welding, I'll just fill this hole in. That way no moisture or anything can ever get inside here. There we go. We'll just preheat the tip of that, and I'll get my solder ready. It's gonna take quite a bit of solder, but it'll be a really, really nice solder joint. Heated enough. Once it kind of starts to change color, throw that on there, and I'll be able to feed solder. Sometimes I like to go heat on this back wall, like the back side of the terminal, and then when I push the solder in, it'll melt on this back wall just like that. So just feed this up, feed the solder in. Till where you fill up the head. There you go, it's starting to drip out the back, so I'll let this cool a little down for a second. There, and so like I said, you just get to let the bottom portion of it cool off, and you just kind of kiss it in order to keep this opening hot enough to melt the solder, and then you just fill the solder in just like you were welding, and you just fill in the hole that you made. Now we have a very nice solder joint that's never ever gonna fail, and I'm never gonna have to worry about it. And I had some fun and practiced some hand-eye coordination. Slip that on. Alrighty, we've got everything sort of in. That power wire's ran. Now we're gonna look at how we're gonna pop out. Hey, go back inside. We're gonna pop the centerpiece out of this and figure out how to get the fuel tech in here. Alrighty, it's time. Okay, so we have the 2 connectors on the back, the map sensor and the USB. The USB I'm gonna run over here to this side of the car. That way, downloading data logs can come over here. So this is a USB over here. I might get one of those Motion Raceworks USB faceplated deals and put it somewhere around here. Okay, now to zip all these little, definitely not all of them, but most of these little 7mm. We got the dash. That's the vacuum line. USB in. Connector 1. Connector 2. Here's the steering buttons right here. So 2 on one side and 1 on the other side. One's the line lock, One is the parachute and the other one is the stage button. Wow, very nice. And then the nanos. The wideband nanos are gonna go right here. So one on top of the other. The dash is in. We just gotta finish up a few odds and ends. We go double check, make sure all of the plugs are plugged in. What else? We'll run the rest of the wires to the back, and hopefully I talked to Holly on the phone today, and they said that my intake is gonna ship on Friday, I think. I still have to degree the cams and lock the cams out. That's gonna be annoying. I think that's pretty much it for the dash, though. That'll wrap it up. And then it'll just be a matter of getting the rest of the wires ran, the intake on, finish the charge side, degree the cams, and then tuning after that. I mean, fluids and everything. Fluid servicing, I'll have to do all that. It's going to need trans fluid, oil, and water. It needs everything. But I think that'll be it. Thanks for watching. Like always, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.